so happy you went live. Thank you. I'm so happy you came here. Excuse me as I make a few little adjustments. Can you see me okay? Oh, that's probably better. Let me mute you real quick. Knocked out to the live last night? Excellent. That's the master plan. If we can make everybody fall asleep, nobody will think to click away. I'm lighting some smudge. Ooh, that's very smudgy. I usually start the stream with a little bit of smudging. I'd like to smudge you and send good energies your way. And I'd like you to let all the negative stuff that's been holding on to you wash off your back. Just let it roll away for now. What's important will be dealt with. What's not can leave us be. You just think about the good things that you are hoping for. Just think about relaxation, contemplation, and rest. Wow, this is a very smoky one. Usually it's pretty resistant. I'll keep an eye on that. It's my little abalone shell. Hello, Elijah. How are you doing today? How is everybody doing today? It's so nice to see you. I had a lovely day. You might hear my stomach grumbling. I just made some bell pepper poppers and some chicken thighs. I didn't have any panko today, so they were not breaded, but they were tasty nonetheless. Had the same meal yesterday. And we had enough to make more. Felt like a little comfort meal. Much needed. I've got a full stomach. Good, how about me? I'm doing quite well, thank you. Thank you all for coming here. For anybody who... I guess I'll reload us a couple times this stream as more people come in, but I'm smudging you all. Smudge, 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 smudge. Think nice, happy thoughts. Take the smudge and take that smoke and rub it on your body. Just let it wash over you. Wash over you. What a delicious smell. Little burp. Ignore that. Hello again. Nice, lovely people. Little music. It's on. How's this? Can you hear it now? And the gnashing of teeth. Oh, okay. The song I just... Penny the cat has decided now is the premium time to get onto the scratching post, despite her father being quite busy. Isn't that right, Penny the cat? My daughter. Hello. Welcome in, Elijah. Welcome in, Danica. What a lovely name, Mixtile. Hello, how How was that music? Thank you for the follow. I don't know, no name. 6-7. Thank you for liking and following. Thank you for the follow, Stu. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. The both of you. You are strong. I'm enjoying having my voice back mostly. My illness is pretty well done. Got some more yard work in today. Hit a grocery run. Just chores. I've been itching to draw. Potential daytime drawing stream coming soon. Potentially. We shall see. Right now I'm enjoying what we've been up to. If I was to do a drawing stream currently, it wouldn't be really all that ASMR. But I have done some drawing streams with ASMR. And it can be done. I just like to tweak my setup some. Would any of you be interested in that someday? Perhaps? Because I feel artistically understimulated and in dire need of recharge. Would be interested? Excellent to hear, Taylor. Excellent, excellent. What should we start with? Because I'd like to just warm up my voice and say hello to the lovely, lovely people. I could... what do we think, Pixie Lee? Shall I do some tracing of my little bear fellow? We can trace this and talk briefly. Or not briefly. Before I get into storytelling. There's a... Oh, false alarm. There was a strange light being projected onto my ceiling, and it was scaring me momentarily. Oh, goodness. Thank you for the follows, Taylor, Bleh, User, and Witch Women. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Loved. Talking is cool. Excellent. Let me... Oh, sorry. You'll hear the chair a little bit as I get comfortable. How unprofessional of me. This is a bear rattle. I don't want it to explode your ears, so I shook it over there. Was that hellishly loud? I was watching TikTok a moment ago, and I saw Rock Lee edit, and it's stuck in my head now. It was playing Mercy by Kanye West. What is it? 2 Chainz, Pusha T, and other name I don't remember. I can't remember. I haven't heard that since I was in middle school. It was kind of funny hearing that, and now it's stuck in my head. That and Soldier Boy, oh my little soldier boy, I'll be true to you. What is that mug? Are you referring to my bear rattle? This bear rattle, I need to learn the local word for bear, because I can't think of a name I would like to name this bear. Right now, they are just bear rattle. What is the design about? Well, what is it? Why does it look this way? This is native. This is a West Coast style of native art. A lot of symmetry, a lot of fine, or not fine, not what I'm looking for. Precise, so precise, so clean on the geometry. Thank you for the follow, Rad Rage. Thank you for the follow, series of emojis. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Are you native? Yes, I am. I'm Afro-Indigenous. I'm technically also part Ukrainian, but it's not very relevant to my life. I'm not very connected with Ukrainian culture of any kind, although I like the food. I'm a fan. But mostly what's relevant to me is my Afro-Indigenous heritage. And I'm an artist, although I have not practiced traditional art very much. I like dragons. I like mythical creatures and fantastical beasts. I liked making my own stuff. And I have a shaky hand. A shaky hand is a quick road to getting quite upset if you're trying to freehand this little design. Everything is so precise. So precise. So clean. It feels so nice to make a clean artwork. Perhaps I should dig out some sketchbooks to show you folk. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe another day. We'll see how we feel. That's just how I feel. Oh, let me make sure It was brought to my attention yesterday that I was missing what everybody was saying in chat. I tend to do that when I have more than 2 people watching. I'll try to do better. Wow, so cool. You're Honduran, but people say you look native because your skin color and long hair. Yes. So is Honduras, how low is that? That would be Central America or South America? The Americas, the natives of the North Americas, the natives of the Americas have a lot of similar features. I even find a lot of the art to bear a bit of a resemblance. And the tattoos and the paint. There's a lot of similarities. And regarding, I believe, like the Navajo and there were a lot of native tribes, and I don't know, would they be like Mexican natives? I don't know what I would. Yeah, there's Mexican natives. They interacted a lot as well. We're all connected. We bear a lot of similarities. That's for a reason. We are the indigenous people of these lands. Thank you for the follows. Liam, Danica, and Sherry. And also Alec, not Alex. You are strong, you are wise, you are loved. Hello. Hi. Somebody was asking what the meaning of this is, and I couldn't discern whether they were asking me to explain the symbolic significance of each detail, or if it was like, what's the meaning of this? Why are you here? Something of that sort, perhaps. This is a bear. It is a rattle. My cousin gave this to me. It was his rattle when he was a child. I know not how old this rattle is, or how long it's been in the family before it got to him and before it got to me. Thank you for the follow. My tongue needs to be untwisted, it seems. Thank you for the follow. Turquoise Rose. What a pretty name. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Okay, the indigenous people in Honduras are called the Lenca. Yeah, they're like Lenca. I don't know if Teca is like proper, and there's Teca people and Aztec and Mayan and all sorts of historic people who were colonized, who have beautiful, rich cultures and beautiful art that I have enjoyed since I was a child, that I would like to put some time into studying as an adult. I've been drawing some of my local traditional native art. Some from memory, some from this. I want to go around town and take pictures of all the totem poles around. There are, to count them, there are a good handful of totem poles that I just want to take a day, travel to, take a picture, leave and draw them all. I just want to draw. I want to draw. I feel the itch. I like to think of myself as a certified artist. I've been creating art for 23 years. Excuse me. And I find when I spend any amount of time away from it, I feel wrong. I feel anxious and antsy. I feel cooped up, understimulated. I want to perish. I cannot live another day without creating. Meanwhile, it's been perhaps one day without drawing, perhaps 1 week without drawing. It matters not, for I feel the burn to create, like an addiction, like a mental illness is often how I describe it. I feel this need so intensely with every fiber of my being to make something all the time. And I feel that same burning desire to consume your creations, the creations of the world, of my people and my ancestors, of your ancestors. I want it all. I want everything. I want it all. Now. Forever. It is why I'm alive. My first love is art. My first language is art. I am a being of absolute creativity. Where did this come from? I can't remember. Where's it going? Who knows? Isn't that the fun of creation? It appears as though Pixie, thank you, Pixie. Output is so low. Turn channel output gain up. Is that so? How does everybody else feel about that? So you're into ancient culture. You got crazy poetry. Bravo. Thank you. You're going to read again tonight? Yes, I am. Absolutely. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the follow, Violet. Thank you for the follow, Dark Lady Windrunner. Thank you to Jacob and Saint Gaming. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. I'll mess with the audio in a moment. Should study Puerto Rican. I love Puerto Rican culture. That's cool. Quite interesting and awesome. My best friend in the world is Puerto Rican. A bit quiet. Loudy dowdy. Oh. Hello. How is this? Why does it look like that? Is this using the right muted? Hello. Let's try right there. Is that good? Or would you like it to go up? This is probably about where I'm going to be talking the whole time. Should I slow down? There we go. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the follow, Lee. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. The best part is the quietness. You telling me you don't want to hear my voice? Is that what's going on? You can watch muted. Hello, Raina. It's so nice to see you. Enjoy the quiet. Phone volume has to be max. Well, I hope that's better, Gabe. I'm not a bum. I like that name. Can you make an offer? Oh, excuse me, I have a receipt in my pocket. Depends on the offer, I suppose. Go ahead, Saint Gaming. For culture learning. Okay. Like I said earlier, I have to work on my reading of chat. I'm not used to having more than 2 people hanging out. And you said Puerto Rican, yeah. Yes, I'd love to learn about Puerto Rican culture. That's cool. I'm currently learning Spanish. I have been for a couple years on and off. I know a tiny bit. I've worked on my accent. I've worked on rolling my R's. Now I'm just working on the habit. Just trying to practice a little every day. I like listening to music in Spanish. I'd like to learn some cultural specific songs, like how the Mexican people have De la Sierra Morena, cielito lindo, viene bajando. Like that. That's a very Mexican pride song, right? I'd like to learn that, the equivalent of that for Puerto Rican folk, or Colombian folk, or Hondurans. I'd like to learn the different. Well, but what's interesting with that is those are all colonized places, and I'm curious if it's the equivalent of me learning like the Canadian anthem, where it's like not chill as a native person. Yeah, that's been my trouble. I'm smudging you, by the way. This is my sage. And just allow all the negativity that's been gathering on your shoulders. Allow it to wash off of you. Think of what you would like. Think of a smile, a moment to relax, to gather yourself, to have a breath. All that negativity can be gone. It can be gone. And we can enjoy each other's company. Using headphones and it's soothing. Excellent. This is so funny. Their spirits are engulfing you. Bad Bunny is nice. I love Bad Bunny. Thank you for the follow, Hound Dog Girl. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Thank you for the follow, Mason Troy Adams. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Forgot what it's called. We've been on here for hours. Are you having a psychotic episode or something? That's a funny message. 24 follows already. Thank you, lovely people. I hope I haven't missed anyone. Let me scroll up real quick. I have to practice seeing everybody. I like what you have to say. Thank you for the follow. Ghost. Are you familiar with Fifi Dobson of early 2000s fame with her hit song Ghost? Yeah. Like a ghost, 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 ghost. Watch me go, 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 go. Dark in your memory. Make a way that you can't believe. Not friend. Went live less than an hour ago. Must go, you're feeling sleepy. Enjoy your sleep. I hope you have pleasant dreams. Or whatever dreams you like. I enjoy having nightmares sometimes. Sometimes, often. I've had to grow to enjoy my nightmares. For I have many, many nightmares. I spent a long time having... Do you mind if I just give your eyes a little... Right? Here, let me take this off for you. Here's a little bit of some ASMR. 30 minutes into the stream. I have a lot of nightmares, you see. I'm a folk who has been subject to many, many nightmares in my life, and then in my dreams. As a child, yeah, I remember my first nightmare. It was of my brother. I was about 2 or 3 years old, perhaps 4, but I believe I was 3 or 4. And I remember sleeping in my room, being in my little crib bed, because I used to crawl out of it and bother my parents and watch horror movies with them. That was the cause of many nightmares. And let me just trace your little I love noses. Aren't they fun? Oh, let me. Okay. I have a lot of nightmares. I remember my first nightmare, laying in my bed looking at the ceiling. I felt like I was there for a long time. I had no concept of hours. All I knew was every moment I had to sit somewhere in silence was a long moment. That's all I knew. And I knew that when I talked to people, I had to say what I was saying many, many, many times over. So I must have been quite young, for no one understood me. And here I lay for hours watching the ceiling until it gets ripped off by a helicopter, and a ladder drops down, and a man takes my baby brother from the other side of the room, and I'm screaming and I'm crying, and I watch the helicopter leave with my brother. I remember the sky, the rolling gray clouds, everything bathed in gray. A great storm was on us, and my brother was being whisked away. So I did the only thing I could. I got up and I jumped out of the hole in the ceiling. Well, the whole roof was gone. I jumped through the gaping roof like the Incredible Hulk. And I followed. And I just remember giving chase. I was not going to let anyone take my brother away. I had to protect him. And that's my first nightmare. Believe it or not, helicopters coming to take my family away would return about a decade later as another nightmare. This time, not whisking away my family, but I was visiting home. I was visiting my home reserve, which is a quite isolated, desolate place. Quite isolated. I've only been there once, for a week. While I was there, I hung out with my nanny, my grandmother that is, and my mother, who I hadn't seen for a long time. My mother gave me different types of nightmares. She was telling me scary stories about the wild women of the woods, and I had nightmares of them. But I recall a nightmare in which I was bringing my nanny and my mother down a long path in the forest, and we were being escorted by men in black suits. By men in black to a helicopter that was landed on the water and a small pier, or a tiny little dock, or I don't know what the difference between a dock and a pier is, besides the point. I don't know why I was there. I was not going on to the helicopter with them. I was there to escort them, and I was there to watch them leave. And they held me and cried for a long time as the helicopter blades started going and whipping up a little torrent all around us. And I started to cry. I had been crying. I'd been crying the whole time, I started to sob. I watched them get into the helicopter, and I began to fight the men in black. But I was too small and too weak, and I couldn't do a thing. And I watched as my family was taken away in a helicopter. I don't tell that dream story very much. I don't think for any particular reason. I guess it just doesn't stand out the way my other dreams do. The way my repeating dreams do, or my great long dreams, or my series of dreams in the same world. It just doesn't feel that same way. It is just a nightmare. Whereas many other nightmares I have are dreams that I can retell and make a fantastical story out of. This is just a nightmare. Your daily dose of weirdness. Thank you for the follow. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Excuse me. Well, I did a moment of ASMR related things, adjacent things, absent-mindedly tracing you. Would we like to read? Or would we like to read from this frightful folklore of North America? Or would we like me to tell one of my nightmares? What do we think? Because I have some very interesting dreams. I have a couple that I would like to share with you. Read a few and then dreams. Okay. Excuse me. I have to drink some water. Ooh. And adjust my chair. It sinks. For it is of terrible quality and quite old. Okay. Let us read Pukubts. Pukubts on page 53. Pukubts. Oh, would we like me to change the audio? Agree with Pixie. Excellent. Excellent to hear. Can you hear this relaxing, foggy forest? Is that what I want? This is what I want. Are you able to hear this ambient noise? Excellent. In that case, let's begin. This is the story of Pukubts of Vancouver Island, Canada. Since the first ships landed on the eastern coast, the history of North America has been a tale of humankind's attempts to tame wild lands. But stray even just 10 meters from a wilderness trail, and you might find out just how fierce nature can be. Deep in the wood, where the forest meets water, the Pukubts makes his home. Built out of decomposing logs and moss-covered bark, it is so well hidden under the dense canopy that some believe that the Pukubts is invisible. It is here that the wild man of the wood, the king of ghosts, lives with the spirits of those who have drowned, feasting on cockles and waiting for another lost wanderer to cross his path. He is a small being, diminutive, lean, sinewy, and raw-boned, and the bent and malnourished structure of his skeletal frame is easily seen through his skin, which is murky, green, and dark as the foliage that surrounds him. His face is gaunt and angular. His long, pointed nose sinks towards his upper lip. The Pukubts' eyes are round and pale, and seem to glow slightly in the darkness, reflecting even the slightest illumination that is directed toward them. The collection of souls that he has accumulated hover about him as he makes his way through the wood. His life in isolation has made him uneasy around people, but in the darkness of his wood, the Pukubts still seeks humans out. If he happens to find you wandering in the forest alone, lost or stranded, he may offer you some sustenance from a cockle-shell plate. What looks to be dried salmon and wild berries is in reality a type of ghost food, a combination of rotting wood and the rancid, maggoty flesh of lizards and snakes. If you eat what he offers, your soul will become his, and you will be cursed into hovering alongside the Pukubts, wandering the forest forever. Tormented with hunger and anguish, you will be tasked with dispersing his malevolence onto any human who dares to venture into the darkness of this forest. Some believe that the Pukubts' intent is simply to ensure that the wild places of the world remain wild. He stands as a reminder that not all the earth should belong to humankind. Thank you for the follow, Scratch. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Thank you for the follow, Alexiana. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. I have some catching up to do. Thank you for the rose. Your voice is so relaxing. Thank you very much, Sleepy. Ooh, how terrible would it be if you were to fall asleep and keep the stream open? Let me turn the light on for you. This is the illustration in the book of the Pukubts. Pukubts. Thank you for the roses. Thank you, thank you. That was so loud. What was loud? What happened? Muting an achievement. I see. That has never been brought up as an issue before. I apologize. I'm not bummed that you were following. I thought you followed earlier. You were strong, you were wise, and you were loved. Jump scared you? I'm sorry. It is scary reading time. I suppose that's fair. Penny the cat is partaking of some of her dry food. Funny little cat. Crunchy, crunchy. Penny, Penny the cat. Let's see what we have here. I like the story of the Pukubts. Wild man of the wood. I wonder if that originates from natives or from white folk, from settlers. Because it starts, since the first ships landed on the eastern coast, the history of North America has been a tale of humankind's attempts to tame wild lands. That line kind of seems like a little microaggression to me. As if there weren't people here. That sounds like one of those stories, and talking about the dirty man in the woods who, it's kind of fear-mongering. I wonder, I'd be curious about the origin of that. Could also be one native tribe just talking about what are they called? What are the tales called that are meant to keep you safe? Cannot think. Talking about you, Benny. Yes. Hello, Benny. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved, Benny. Thank you for the follow, Jake. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Sending a new ambience. Excellent. I'm curious. I have another book of native stories, but it is strange, as it is a compilation of native stories collected by white people. And the annotations that they've made replace the names that my people gave these figures with the names of Jesus Christ, and with things like that. So it will be a story about the sun and the moon meeting in the woods, and instead of the moon speaking or the sun speaking, it will say Jesus, and in parentheses, moon. And I don't know how I feel about trying to read that. Turn ambience just down. Okay. How's that? I don't really know how I feel about trying to read that on stream, trying to decipher, because it's written in a way that's just so different from this. These are very, like, they're stories, and they were made as such without these strange annotations that replace native names with, I don't know, it's just strange, something for me to study on my own, and to adapt, and to commit to my memory, and then share with you, I think. Tupilak. We will read the Tupilak. What tribe is your ancestry from? I cannot answer that, as it would be doxing me. I am closely related to 3 different nations. 3 different nations. As many natives are. Because in your region, each tribe would tend to travel depending on the season. And in their travels, they would see each other and, commingle or fight as they are like to do. And just kind of, that's how community worked. That all of the local tribes were closely connected. So, I'm from a few different nations, and I would like to talk about them, but I don't feel comfortable with it. So I'll have to figure out a way of sharing some of my cultural stuff with you guys without neglecting my own privacy. Oh, one moment. Thank you for the follow, Dior. You're strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Yeah. Things I can tell you, like, my mother gave me this. I don't think it's made out of real bone or nothing, but it's an orca tail because our family crest is of the orca and of the eagle and the salmon. As we are a coastal people, our life cycle is connected to the cycle of the seasons, to the cycle of the salmon's movements and things like that. There's so many cool things I wish I could show you. But most of the native art that I have of my own is like this. Stuff I already show you every stream. I'd like to get more. I want a cedar hat. My head is very large, so wearing hats is very difficult. But in the summertime, all of this hair gets incredibly hot. It is very heavy and it's very thick and it's very dark. So I just want a cedar hat that I can wear when I go out into the yard to do work, or when I'm gardening or something, or when I'm just like out under the sun. I just want a cedar hat. I think that would be very lovely. Thank you for the follow, Chris. You're strong, you're wise, and you are loved. This is the story of the Tupilak of Greenland. After 5 years under the frozen ground, the child's body has minimal decay, but this behavior is not in line with our policies. What is calling me boring? How do I... One moment, I have to... Am I restricted? TikTok likes to do this thing to me where it tells me that I'm not being engaging. I suppose because I'm not jumping up and down and going crazy. Go Sonic. Sonic VA. Voice actor, that's cool. I would love to do voice acting. Thank you for the follow. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Pixie, does it appear as though I'm restricted in any way? Don't think I'm restricted. People are still joining. Excellent. Oh, gifting suspended. Appeal. Not too long ago. Excellent. I don't know why this still happens. Let me just say, this is not right. Oh, goodness gracious. Heavens to Betsy. I said this is wrong. There we are. TikTok being a pain? Yeah, it just started. I don't know why. It hasn't done that for a bit. But every once in a while it'll just strike me. Okay. Tupilak of Greenland. After 5 years under the frozen ground, the child's body has minimal decay. But its desiccated skin is stretched tightly across its cheekbone and brow, a shallow resemblance of its living self. This shriveled, nameless child will soon serve a greater purpose. The wronged woman cuts off the corpse's head and carefully stitches its leathery skin to the upper torso of a large dog. She removes the dog's paws and replaces them with the talons of an eagle. She takes out the child's teeth and inserts shards of jagged whalebone in their vacant cavities, creating a shark's grimace. The hind quarters of an elk, recently perished but already ravished by scavengers, become the legs. She places her creation near a water source, and kneeling down beside it, she thrusts a small bundle, a lock of hair wrapped in a piece of cotton, tied with a bit of fish intestine, into its chest cavity. While speaking words intently over the body, she blankets it in fresh Viridian moss and bilberry leaves, then departs. A few days later, the creature awakens and chokes out its first breath. As it cries out in hunger, the woman lays in the moss beside it, cradles its withered head in her arms, and feeds it from her own breast. For 3 long weeks, she cares for it in her home, watching it grow stronger, larger, and more dangerous. Soon, the creature no longer craves breast milk, and instead eats the rodents that scurry about the small cabin. The time has come to set it out on its task. She leads it back to the riverside, kneels down in the damp moss, and whispers a name, a place, an avengeful deed, long overdue, in the creature's ear. It stands with determination, its dead eyes focused on the horizon, its jaw gritted, its taloned fists clenched. For just a moment it pauses before it departs into the night. The woman returned home contented, but several weeks later, while she was pondering the progress of her Tupilak, wondering whether those who had wronged her had now been vanquished, there came a thunderous crash at the door. There, on her threshold, stood her creation, her spell undone, his purpose reversed. It was a risk she had knowingly taken. Before she could say a word, or even hold up a hand in protest, the Tupilak was upon her, tearing into her, pulling her to pieces, bit by bit. This creature of her own making, revenge made flesh and bone, had found its way home. That is the Tupilak. Youch. Youch. Are you the real Sonic? Is you the real Sonic? This is the illustration of the Tupilak. I like that story. That's my second time reading that one. The stories of Greenland are pretty cool. Perhaps I'll share currently one of my very favorite stories in this book. I'll share the story of Erlaveersiniooq on page 34. 34. 34. And that story we just read reminds me of botchlings, I believe they're called, and lubberkin. I'm aware of them from the video game The Witcher. But I believe they would come from like, oh, I can't even hazard a guess, Scandinavian lore, somewhere in Europe. Excuse me. A similar sort of story of a child stillborn. This is the story of Erlaveersiniooq. Can you hear my cat back there causing a ruckus? She's causing a ruckus. Actually, it's been 1 hour that I've been here. I'm gonna stand up, use the washroom, and be right back in about 3 minutes or less. I'm going to pause the live briefly. Take a moment to do what you have to do, and I'll be right back. Pause. To you, oh, who's you? Thank you for the follow. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Is that lighting better? Excellent, excellent. Back from our break. So nice to see you again. This is the story of Erlaveersiniooq of Greenland. The horizon blended into the sunless sky as a winter gale raged. Gusts of wind blew wave after wave of snow in all directions. For the two men to continue would be folly, but to stop would mean freezing to death. By nightfall, the storm had finally passed, and as the moon rose, I'm being restricted again. Appeals are all being denied. Am I restricted to you guys? Let me know, I suppose. Gosh, why is this happening to me? Let's see. By nightfall, the storm had finally passed, and as the moon rose, full and brilliant, at last the men had an opportunity to check their bearings. The stars seemed off, a bit too western, a little too low in the sky. But westward the pair were headed, so westward they would continue. In time, they came upon a small, dimly lit cabin. Smoke rising from the chimney meant there was a fire, warmth, and perhaps the kind of offer of a good meal inside. They knocked on the door, and in a short time it swung open to reveal a large woman, scantily dressed, with only a piece of hide swung loosely around her waist. Her breasts hung heavily down to her navel, and her belly was full and round. Standing shamelessly at the door, her head was wide. Somehow, impossibly, it was wider than it was tall. Her nose, merely 2 broad nostrils, large black holes below her massive, wide-set eyes. She looked the men up and down as if sizing them up. The corners of her full lips turned up slightly as she pulled her lower lip in, then slowly released it, while her broad tongue wetted her upper lip to reveal a broad, gap-toothed smile. She invited them in and offered them a seat at her table. She turned to the fire and ladled out 2 generous helpings of stew from a big pot. As she turned, parts of her body swung about her and clapped against other parts. 2 dead sculpin fish dangled down between her heavy thighs, swinging back and forth as she crossed the room. Her large eyes and broad smile flashed as she placed their meals before them. The absurdity of it all finally proved to be too much, and one of the men burst into laughter. Immediately her smile came undone, revealing angry, gnashing teeth. She leapt over the table and slashed the laughing man open at his belly with a knife. Standing astride him, she began to gather up his innards, his liver, kidneys, lungs, and heart. The second man stood in frozen astonishment as she gave a hearty whistle. My cat. I'm restricted. New people cannot join. Woof. The second man stood in frozen astonishment as she gave a hearty whistle, and the pot where the stew had been cooking scurried across the room. This cat is being tremendously loud. Sorry. She gave a hearty whistle, and the pot where the stew had been cooking scurried across the room to act as a repository, into which the laughing man's organs were casually tossed. Her kindness repaid in meat and blood, if not repaid in kind. Okay, so somebody joined. Should I just restart the live? What the hell? Excuse my terrible language. What the shell is going on? What do you think, Pixie? Shall I just restart? Am I restricted? I don't even know how I'd look at my restrictions on this page. I think... Hello? Well, I see people joining. but I'm confused. Well, oh, well, you're here. Yes. I'm going to restart. I will be right here in 3 seconds. We'll see if that helps the restrictions. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Ozzy. Thank you for following. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. I'll turn up the brightness a little bit, I suppose. Oops. Okay. Hello, lovely folks. Welcome back. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. My cat left a terrible smell of cat poo in her wake. I don't know if you just heard her scurrying and scampering out of here. Running away, no doubt. The ambience is really loud now. This is very annoying. Streaming on TikTok is a very strange experience. Thank you for liking the live. Thank you for liking. Thank you for being here. Hopefully I didn't just start a live that's already restricted. We'll see, I suppose. Let's see. I want to read the story of... The Snarly Yow on page 121. Okay, looks like people can still join. Excellent. Welcome in. Can I turn the ambience is on 3% volume and 10% in source. It's fixed? Okay. Strange. Yeah. I keep everything nice and low for you lovely folks, because I know that the mic is quite sensitive. Now on my screen, I wonder if I'm being restricted due to the brightness of my face. Does this look like a very, very dark shadow to you? Or is it just like somewhat dark? Because to me, my screen is on 90% nightlight mode because my eyes are very sensitive to light. Excuse me. So I'm wondering if it's doing that. Pixie Lee, never touch my light again. Is that better? Because every time I have to adjust it, it's always different. Okay, we'll try this. Okay. We have a couple people back. I'll just get to reading. This is the story of the Snarly Yow of West Virginia, United States. My voice is so relaxing. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for the follow, Damien. It's all for you, Damien. The Appalachians on the eastern side of West Virginia are a vast and ancient wilderness where ridge and hollow repeat against the horizon, one after another. A land of ancient specters and restless spirits. This is a place where the long twilight shadows are not always cast by trees. The first Europeans to arrive here were German immigrants who established the settlement of Mecklenburg. The settlers formed a good relationship with the Nahisan people, with whom they traded supplies and animal furs, and they went to work taming the land. But as most tales of taming the wilderness go, just as you begin to feel safe, things start to turn. It began one blustery fall night when the settlers heard what sounded like the howl of a wolf. A lone wolf was not much of a concern, but as time passed, the howls got nearer and became louder, and started to continue all night long. The settlers remained confident that the wolf would keep its distance, but as a precaution, they started a nightly patrol. On one particularly dark night, a watchman heard the dull padding of paws striding over dirt. Lantern in one hand and rifle in the other, he ran in the direction of the sound, but to his bewilderment, when he got there it had stopped. Raising his lantern to brighten the darkness, all he could see were long shadows cast from nearby trees. He moved the lantern from one side to the other to see if anything was hiding in the darkness, and then he saw it, slinking from one dark shadow to another, as lean and long as if it were a shadow itself. It appeared to have no significant shape, yet was easily discerned. It moved as fluid, viscous, and black as ink. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, it was gone, evanescing into the shadows of the nearby trees. The watchman looked around, but to no avail. Whatever had been there had vanished. A few days later, a woodsman was making his way home at twilight, with his axe over one shoulder and a lunch pail in his other hand. He was eager to get home and was taking long, quick paces. Suddenly he froze, his wits unable to comprehend the scene before him. There in the shadows on the path ahead, a shape began to form. Rising slowly from the darkness was a hunched and bristled back. Two flaming red eyes burst from the shadows to his left, as if the creature had been awakened abruptly. And two pointed ears and a long, gaping maw were quick to materialize afterward. Night and darkness from all around coalesced, taking the shape of a massive black hound. Looking about, it seemed to the woodsman that there was nowhere that the hound was not. Its tail and hind quarters stood to his side, its body stretched around behind him, and the hound's head and shoulders stood in the path before him. Lips pulled back in a toothy grimace, eyes burning red as coals. A low, liquid growl, guttural and gravelly, surrounded him, as if the entire wood had come to life. The woodsman dropped his pail and defiantly grasped his axe with both hands, in a move that seemed to incense the creature. It leapt toward him as he swung his axe at the beast, and although his aim was true, the blade passed through the animal as if it were made of nothing. The hound, however, found its mark and clamped down on the woodsman's throat. He felt sharp claws digging into his arm and a heavy weight on his chest, the crushing pressure of the creature gnawing at his neck, the gurgling of his blood leaving his body, and then darkness. The woodsman woke on the path the following morning, and to his astonishment, he was not wounded. Had he dreamt it? Had he lost his mind? Collecting himself, he found his pail, and as he picked up his axe, he saw tracks in the dirt. Paw prints, larger than his hands, pressed into the damp path. In the years since, the town has grown and changed its name to Shepherd's Town. But sightings of the Snarly Yow continue. The creature is always standing on a path, challenging and goading travelers. Some have shot at the animal, but even bullets pass right through it. Although none of the attacks have resulted in death from the beast itself, there have been a few people who appear to have died from fright rather than injury. So if you plan to make the hike to the wilds of West Virginia and Appalachia, tread lightly and be sure you've got a healthy heart. Gifting suspended. Guess it's gonna be one of those days. Oh. Welcome to the fan club. Welcome. Ooh, lovely people. Thank you for the follow, Zach. Thank you for the follow, Kason. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Thank you for the follow, Ozzy. I thought you just followed. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Thank you for the heart. Thank you for the roses. Welcome to the fan club. Thank you for the follow, other Zach. Thank you for the follow, Kevin and Shake. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Change the ambience back just in case. Yeah, it can be weird with that stuff. Maybe I'll just turn it off if I... Maybe... We'll see how we feel with it turned off for now. Because this is irritating. You love that story? So do I. Here's a line that I enjoyed from it. I like... Where is it when it's moving like ink? Goodness gracious, I just like the way it's described as fluid, as evanescing between the shadows and all that. It appeared to have no significant shape, yet was easily discerned. First of all, I like that, like oxymoron, that little contradiction. It moved as fluid, viscous, and black as ink. I love that. The Snarly Yow. I would like to draw. I would like to paint the Snarly Yow. This makes me want to paint. Yeah, my voice is soothing. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please make ASMR reading or something. Is this not ASMR reading? The main trigger I do is kind of just the tongue clicking. I like it. I'm not a big ASMR consumer, so I'm just slowly picking up little things that I'd like to just plop in, just to fill space. And I tend not to whisper. I think that the quality of my voice is kind of lost when I whisper. Is this not ASMR? I'm sorry, I suppose. On YouTube, yes, we have a YouTube channel, The Sweet Bard. The plan is certainly to do more of these readings. I'd like to read these, and I would like to post either just time lapses of me drawing illustrations for them, or little page Like, there's illustrations in this book, and I like them. They're pretty. I like this style. They're simple. I like them. I'd like to illustrate them myself. These stories all have such strong imagery. It makes me excited. I get giddy like a kid with a new toy, with a new part of my imagination buzzing, ready to create. I kinda she cuz. Me too, homie. What do you read? Currently we are reading Frightful Folklore of North America. This is only the... What? Is this the 4th or 5th ASMR stream I've done now? So, we've only done a handful of these streams, so I still have a lot of stories in this book to go. I've also read some old fairy tales, like the Hind in the Wood and the Beauty and the Beast, and I have some Grimm's tales, and I have Edgar Allan Poe, but Edgar Allan Poe is like very complex. It's just so, it takes a lot of focus and a lot of like, it's a little heavy for me to read casually. But I like to read all sorts of things. I like horror. I like horror things. That's what I read. Thank you for sharing the live, Michael. I'm pouring. My bad, did I have a little slip? Best friends Amelia and Ellie love my page. I love your friends Amelia and Ellie. Thank you for loving the page. Are they shy? Did they send you? Going back to it. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. This next little page is of Appalachian lore. Wander not these woods past dark. Do not nap or slumber within its twilight umbrage. Neither shout, nor hoot, nor holler, nor caterwaul. Never whistle in these woods, lest the spirits that may be listening answer your call. Do not fix your gaze aimlessly upon the trees, as that which is hidden in the foliage may feel as though you have seen it. These are but a few of the rules you must heed if you intend to survive Appalachia. Ooh. Ooh. This book is a mix of folklore and of stories, like the Snarly Yow, and just pages of random superstitions. A lot of them overlap. You hear a lot about don't whistle in the woods. Don't whistle in the woods. I'd heard whistling in the woods is something that became a superstition, at least in native culture, because when two tribes were warring against each other, to travel silently, to travel unheard, but to communicate with each other, they would not speak, but whistle. They would make animal calls and bird calls. So, out of necessity, if you were at war with a tribe, you had to listen carefully. Listen to the nature. If it felt off, chances were it was off. If that call you were hearing didn't quite sound right, Perhaps it was a warring neighbor, which I imagine is where the story of the skulkers, or skinwalkers, that is, comes from. People trying to blend into the forest, act as animals, lure you to kill you because they're at war with you, or because they just want you gone. And over time it went from, perhaps it was a story once of relaying the dangers that were around you in the woods. It might have been straightforward. I could imagine the elders saying, this is their tactics, keep out for this, or keep a lookout for this. And then that over time transforms into a superstition, and the original context and meaning of it is lost, and all that is left is do not whistle in the woods at night, lest the spirits take you, when previously there was a far more physical danger. But also, I wonder how much it has to do with trying not to attract animals. For I've heard that predator animals and things such as cougars and bears would be more attracted to pitches that are higher. So going low, sounding big, the bigger you are as any sort of animal, the more resonant and low you tend to be, I believe. So if you sound low and big and shout, you're likely to scare off any cougar or bear that might want you. But if you're whistling, you may attract them by accident. I could see that being an origin as well. Just one sleep unk. What am I doing? Thank you for the follow, Cash Money. Oh, people have been speaking. Thank you for the follow, Julie. I can't read it. Thank you for the follow, you. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. The people left. Thank you for the follow. Corey draws. Ooh, I'm also an artist. That's so lovely. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. Once I removed Bard, I'm gonna have to do it for the views. You got aura. You can feel my nen. You can feel my aura. My immense power level. Story's so scary, sometimes I just want to wander in the woods and whistle. Yes, exactly. Immediately went down when I covered. Wait, my views went down when I covered my chesses? Behave. This next story is called Cyclone Annie of Illinois, United States. Annie lived a few miles from the edge of town on a small plot of land between two cornfields. The old woman kept to herself, walking to town once a week for a few groceries and the occasional bottle of rye whiskey. Although she was an unassuming person, she often attracted the attention of groups of rambunctious teens, and it was only a matter of time before talk of her unusual quietness and solitary life transitioned to name-calling. Crazy, kook, and loon. When the farmers in the area had an outbreak of tuberculosis on their herds, A new name for old Annie began to circulate in the small community, spoken in whispers and hushed tones, which live restricted for some audiences, themes that may not, body exposure and sexualized behavior. Moobs are tough? Thanks. I was at 70 on the Malachi. Thank you for the follow. Which the whispers soon became open talk and insults, and quiet accusations turned to calls for action. Soon, Annie was no longer welcome at the grocery store. Dares and challenges led to hostile pranks, first in town, then at her home. Eventually, this peaceable woman was forced to become aggressive, running out of her house at night, waving a cane and yelling at the kids to get off her property and leave her be. Late one night, the townsfolk formed a mob and burned Annie's house down. As she angrily yelled about retribution, her heart gave out, and she died on the spot, lying on the dirt in front of her burning home. Everything had come to its ultimate conclusion, or so the townsfolk assumed. It was a year later to the day when lightning flashed and streaked across the black sky, and thunderclaps rumbled incessantly. What had started as a welcome August rain soon became much more violent. The winds picked up as funnel clouds formed, dropping winding tails down to the ground, twisting and tearing trees from the soil and flattening crops. By the morning, a massive tornado had ripped a half-mile wide swath right through the center of the area, destroying the small town, killing 37 people and injuring 800. As the survivors came up out of their storm shelters, a strange scene unfolded. There, walking through the rubble and debris, was a solitary woman, old and bent, dressed head to toe in black, and unknown by anyone who saw her. Yet, despite the woman's face being unfamiliar, there were those who thought they recognized the lone woman. The way she carried herself, the resolve in her stride. Though none would admit it, and many had watched her die, they knew it was Annie they saw, on her way for a few groceries and a bottle of rye. This is a particularly pretty illustration. I love this. Bro, who did that? ASMR 5091, thank you for sharing the live. Wish you could gift. It's restricted? Yeah, I was getting restricted for being boring earlier. But I'm wondering if it was like the ambience that we had on. Goodness gracious. I'm gonna have to ask somebody for help. There's people on TikTok who will help me out with these fuck-ass restrictions, I suppose. What do I do? Do I restart again? It's only been 30 minutes. And our viewership has tanked due to the restrictions. Yes? Shall I restart? Here, I'll show you. Thank you for the follow. You are strong, you are wise, and you are loved. There we are. Very pretty. I like this illustration. I'm getting restricted for talking, huh? Alright, I'm gonna restart. I'm gonna have a quick look to see if I can get rid of any restrictions.